Here is the World on Water's 35th America's Cup report.
Well, we're very lucky to have Michael Douglas come and say hello. Having seen him on a flight to New York recently, I was really keen to try and get him to come down and have a look at what we do. He was in Valencia in 2007. It was great for him to come down and just have a look and see how much the game has changed in 10 years and how different it is now. He was an absolute sort of hero of mine with all the different movies that he's been in, you know, that I've watched over the many years, and so to have, you know, to meet someone like that and to be able to show him around a little bit of what we do is super cool. Next step is to get him out on the water.
I had the nicest opportunity to get invited out here to the America's Cup race at the dockyard, and it is unbelievable going on here. This is going to be something to behold, so hang on your pants, guys and girls. It's going to be a lot of fun.
During the last America's Cup, the Holy Grail was full driving, and very early on we got our AC-72 foiling.
And we're on our way, ripping downwind, both boats up on the foils. What an amazing start to this first race.
Yeah, we've kind of always thought, I always thought that when we started this America's Cup, people would be tacking on the foils by the time we get to racing. So it's something that we've kind of always had an open mind on, and
we're out there, you know, with a nice breeze, you know, and we put the boat into attack, and there we were, stayed up on the foils. The giveaway was when Chris sort of let out a bit of a little giggle actually on the as we exited the tag.
yeah, I mean, the first few times when it was nearly on, I was kind of almost swearing like, oh, this is so on. But then when we actually did one, I was giggling away. Yeah, it was cool. It was a great feeling. And
thought, yep, there we go. That's the first one ticked off, and then we pulled off another one the same day. And I think it was just satisfying to think that all the work that we've been doing in terms of trying to understand the key components has sort of all paid off, and there we were, pulling one off.
If it's anything like moth sailing, it starts to open up the race course a lot more. Your options are a lot wider. It's not about sailing boundary to boundary. You can tack on the shifts a lot more on demand. It's
a real game changer. So, the race is on. I think most of the teams are aware of it. The game is on really to see who can actually consistently pull it off.
Well, 2017 so far has been a really exciting year for us. We launched our race boat, and that was a big deal for any team, and certainly for us as a new team to launch our first ever race boat. A huge amount of man hours in terms of design and technology, boat building expertise had gone into it. And also, it's a significant upgrade in terms of the equipment that we've now got to take out on the water and develop through to the racing starting later on in the year. We're really happy with the performance of Rita, our race boat. It's a significant step up from our testing boat, which was of use to us, certainly in developing a lot of the ideas on the systems to go into the race boat. But we're very pleased with the performance that we've had, the performance gains so far. The America's Cup is as much as a design race as it is a sailing race. And so, the key to that development really is just time out on the water, seeing how the different components perform, coming back, working really well with our designers and our engineers to understand, what are the capabilities to improve certain components on the boat. As we saw in the last America's Cup, that development, that continual development has to keep going all the way through the competition, and the team that can do that most effectively will probably be the ones that end up taking the cup home. Our goals really at the moment are to continue developing the race boat, and we do have some reasonably significant upgrades coming online in the near future, which will be exciting to get those out in the water and put them into real life practice. And then we just got to keep developing that, and you know, there'll be more upgrades as we go through the coming weeks and months and into the racing itself. And it's going to be fascinating, not only from our own team's performance, how we can improve, but watching the other teams as well, as some of them come online here in Bermuda, Team New Zealand, Team France, for example, seeing how those teams are performing. So very exciting times in America's Cup World.
Yeah, it was another great race period. I mean, you could definitely see all of the teams have improved since the last one. I think Artemis came out on top, and they really just made fewer mistakes than the other teams. People were definitely trying a few things out on the water in terms of technique and also their general setups. But it was fantastic, you know. We really got more, I'd imagine, top-end conditions in this race period. Yeah, look, we've got a lot of work to do still. You know, clearly Artemis are looking very strong. Japan too are going really well. So yeah, we've definitely got a lot of work to do, but we learned a heap out of this, as I'm sure everyone did that was out there. You know, the French were spending more hours out there and getting sharper as well with their, you know, with their AC boards. So that was a great period, and we're really got to build on this, and you know, the clock's ticking, so every day counts. I think the priorities are making sure we do a good debrief from this period, really taking the time to, you know, just study all the racing and what we took out of it and the lessons, and then we have to implement some of the development options. You know, we need to make sure we keep developing this boat, keep making it faster, and every other team will do the same.
We're here on the Great Sound in the middle of Bermuda, which is going to be the America's Cup race course for the 35th Cup. You can probably see it's quite a choppy day out here at the moment, probably blowing about 25 knots. So we haven't got any of the teams out. Luckily to be here with Julian DiBiase, who's the event director. Jules, I don't know if you want to give us your 2-minute brief on kind of the race course and what we're seeing here today.
Well, Great Sound in Bermuda, awesome stretch of water. We've seen teams training here for a couple of years now, and the boats are going faster and faster. The Great Sound is becoming smaller and smaller, which will make for an exciting race, really. What we'll see here in June is really stadium racing, stadium sailing, where all around that race course you have headlands, and all around the race course you have spectator boats that are going to be watching this event. So we hope for an exciting spectacle, good breeze like today, and probably, you know, in terms of images and feel, something that's very unique, you know, with turquoise water, warm weather, opportunity to swim, you know, before the races. It'll be a very, very special event. Sailing used to be that sport, that competition that you would not really be able to follow, right? It would happen out there, out on the ocean. Whereas now here, whether you watch it from the race village on shore or from your boat on the water, you'll be right there in grandstands watching this spectacle. The race course stretches from one end to the other of the Great Sound. It'll take really the whole length of that stretch of water, and the finish will be in front of the race village, which will give the opportunity to all of those who come to the race village to enjoy a very close-up view of those race yachts.
We've just come on the other side of the Great Sound now, away from the event village, so on the southern side. And we're at a place called Morgan's Point, where you've got Artemis Racing, the Swedish entry for the America's Cup, who are based out here. They're actually by themselves.
So Artemis really is a team that was based in Oakland, California before they moved to Bermuda. They had a fairly big operation there, and they felt like they needed space, and Morgan's Point provided that. So they decided to set up here in Morgan's Point and have that flexibility to access the Great Sound, to be in control of their base and their environment, whilst other teams have set up at Dockyard to be based at the venue for the regatta right away. During the event, Artemis will be based at Cross Island at the America's Cup Event Village. They'll have a sailing team base over there, and we'll see them as, you know, as part of the whole event.
Just over in the event village here, and we've got Team New Zealand. They've just kind of arrived really, and they've just been setting up their base.
All 6 teams will be based at the race village. They'll be launching their boats in the morning, so when you come to see an event, when you come to see a race, not only you'll see the race, but you'll see the teams at work launching their boats with their crane, putting their boat out, doing their debrief. You'll see super yachts in the background. Literally the biggest super yachts and mega yachts on the planet are coming to Bermuda in a couple of months, which is going to be stunning and unique.
We're just on the most southern side of the America's Cup race village here, and we've got Land Rover BAR, who've really established themselves over this winter just gone. You can see their structure. They've got more of a substantial structure long term.
Land Rover BAR have an amazing base in the UK, so it's not a surprise that the facility that they have done here in the Bermuda is up to the same standard.
So I think our event director is going to jump ship now. He's got to go off to another meeting about the kind of Great Sound. So thanks, Jules. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys. I gotta go. Still a lot to do.
Next door to Land Rover BAR, we've got Groupama Team France. So kind of their neighbours. You can see their boat and wing sheds are right next door to each other. Team France have just arrived on the island. They've been here in the last month. And I think they launched their America's Cup class yacht last week for the first time. So their first encounter with the Great Sound, and obviously really a very steep learning curve for them. You can probably see behind me here as well one of the AC-45s, one of the old AC-45Fs which have come from the World Series. And that's going to be handed over to the Red Bull Youth America's Cup, which is actually happening opposite the team base here. Just moving northbound actually down this America's Cup row, if you like. SoftBank Team Japan, probably one of the most earliest established teams on the island. Skippered by Dean Barker. This is the first Japanese entry since 2000, where team manager Fuku was actually on board as a sailing team member then. So, you know, 17 years later, they're back entering the 35th America's Cup as SoftBank Team Japan. So finishing off with Oracle Team USA, I suppose they've been established here in Bermuda the longest, and they are really the host team of Bermuda. We're actually stood here right in the middle of the pen where they actually launched the America's Cup class yacht. Here's the crane that they actually launch it with, and you can just see directly across from us here is the entrance to Dockyard on the event village, and that's where all the teams will be entering and exiting for the Great Sound and the race course. It's going to be very, very busy. 6 teams, 6 America's Cup class yachts, 8 Red Bull Youth America's Cup boats, and also the J class yachts and super yachts competing as well. So look forward to seeing you here.
I had the chance to get out on the water this last week and see some of the practice racing. I think the Artemis team is looking particularly strong at this point, but many of the other teams aren't far behind. I think Land Rover BAR Racing have made some big gains over the last month and a half, and they're now starting to look pretty promising. The start's going to be critical. Getting underneath the other boat at the start, seems to be the favoured position. The strategies and tactics on the racecourse are developing as they get better at the manoeuvres. So this is going to be a very, very interesting event coming up. The America's Cup Village is really starting to take shape now. The media centre's been created, and that's an impressive facility right on the water overlooking the racecourse. So I think the media are going to get a great chance this time to really view our sport in a different light and really understand it. And also the VIP hospitality facilities. What a view of this racecourse. I mean, this facility that Bermuda's created on this custom-built island right on the edge of the racecourse is going to be second to none. I think this is probably the best setup that I've seen at an America's Cup. I think we're all very, very proud of what's happened at America's Cup Endeavour over the last 2 years. The development's been incredible. It's given kids from all walks of life on this island, all different types of backgrounds, the chance to get out there on the water and experience sailing. And they learn all sorts of other life skills and values, things like teamwork, the value of preparation, a lot of confidence. And we saw that recently with some of the kids that have autism, and they were able to get out on the water, which was absolutely fascinating. Get out on the water and experience what it's like to be on a boat. And frankly, you could see their behaviour change during that event. It was, in a very, very positive way. And I think everyone involved got a real kick out of that. It's great to be able to take these kids out on the water and give them these opportunities that they would never otherwise get the chance to have.
Yeah, today we went out there with the goal of doing a foiling tack, which we've never done before in these boats.
Full foiling tack. See this one?
We had some catastrophic fails in our attempts and some big crashes in attempting to do it, but we eventually did it.
The reality is that the Japanese led the way a little bit with that, and I quite like watching us figuring out and being able to be able to match them in a matter of days is the thing that was really important for the team.
Look at Joe. What we were talking about a long time ago was for a boat to not touch the water throughout a whole race, and it's becoming a reality now. Last America's Cup, it was all about the foiling jibe and who could perform the foiling jibe, staying on the foils all the way down the downwind run. This time it's about foil tacking. The gains in a foiling tack, it can be anywhere from 50 metres to 200 metres. You're not going to think of it as gains anymore, you're going to think of it as losses. Whoever doesn't do a foiling tack is probably going to lose the race. The boat that can make it around the race course without touching the water will win this America's Cup.
One real performance area where we can differentiate ourselves, and hence we put all our research, is the dagger boards and the wetted surface and drag that they entail. The holy grail clearly probably is to try and get these boats to do a complete lap of the course without ever touching down. To understand a sailboat at a really, really fundamental level is we are trying to extract energy from two fluids that are moving at different speeds. So we have wind blowing across the water, and we have effectively two aircraft wings. One operates in the air, which is the big wing sail we see, and the opposite one which opposes those loads in the water. For the boat, the boat weighs about 3 tons with all the sailors on board, so we're lifting that out of the water. The second load we're trying to do is the wing sail is trying to push the boat sideways, and so the vertical part of the board has to resist that force. Essentially this kind of S-shaped foil that's evolving and most of the teams seem to have got there, that is simply moving the lift from the wing further outboard on the boat. And so my lift is here, my weight of my boat is here, and the distance between those two times the weight of the boat essentially is the righting moment. So I get more stability. It probably also comes with some drag penalty, so these are where we make the trade-offs. We're seeing boats that foil in much lighter wind, so we can kind of have less power, so we have to make them more efficient. To make them more efficient, to foil at slower speeds, the physical evolution that you could kind of look at and see is that the span of the wings is comparatively much longer than we had back in the 72s. That's putting a lot of difficult work on the structural engineers. We've got this longer, skinnier, more flexible, harder to control kind of foils. The very lightest conditions, we need to be able to race between 6 knots of wind and 25 knots of wind. 6 knots of wind, we really can't fly the hull, so we're 2 hulls in, we're very slow, it's pretty painful. Things happen very quickly from there on up. You know, about half a knot of wind later, more wind, and suddenly we have a hull flying, and you know, our speed might go from 6 or 7 knots to 10, 11, 12 knots, like a lot faster suddenly. And then another half knot or a knot later, where suddenly we're up and foiling. And so we have these huge kind of transitions to navigate. And the sort of optimal foil for each of those modes will be quite different. So that's quite hard to manage across the very light air end of the spectrum. One of the things we're allowed to do in the class this time that we weren't in the 72s is apply what we call rudder differential, but that is have a difference in lift from the leeward side of the boat to the windward side of the boat on the rudder. And you can kind of think of that as the windward rudder kind of pulling down on the boat, which is in a way a little bit like adding crew weight or more righting moment, making the boat more stable. As a general kind of rule of thumb, you could kind of say a less stable foil that's harder to control is probably got less drag associated with it. But if we can't sail it in a kind of nice, stable, accurate kind of way, then that's probably not fast either. So for each board, once it's sort of deployed, we're allowed to rotate it around 2 axes. The secondary axis of cant we can use to sort of modify the orientation of the board in a way that perhaps gives us more or less stability. So if we can go perhaps from a mode which is very unstable but fast to a more stable, easier to sail kind of mode. And can the guy, when he's driving the boat, look around and get his head out of the boat and see the gusts coming? Or is the board so tricky to sail that it requires his complete focus? In terms of the number of boards, we're constrained by the protocol. And that says we're allowed to build 6 boards for our 45-foot test platforms, and then finally 4 boards for the race boat. On top of that, we're allowed to make a certain number of changes. But effectively, for each one of those boards we build, we can make one change to it up to 30% of its weight, which is actually a pretty significant change. Give or take, it's about a 3-month process to build a board. And so if you start counting back from the racing period, giving yourself some time to learn that board and understand it, you know, how to use it in the best way possible, and then put the 3-month building process in front of that. Inevitably, there's a kind of process of discovery in a way that's kind of the fun part of the job. Is you do all the theoretical work, you put it on the boat, and without fail, you know, there's some aspect of the performance or design or behaviour that's kind of a surprise and something to learn from.